Greetings, Zimbabwe. My name is Sean Moyo of 263 Times. On Talking Politics today, we are blessed to have MDC T chairperson, Mr. Morgen Komichi. Mr. Komichi, welcome.
Sure, thank you so much. Welcome. Greetings to all viewers.
Thank you so much for gracing us and for giving us the privilege to speak with you. We know you're a busy man, and so we appreciate a lot your time.
No, thank you so much. Thank you.
Getting into it, firstly, before we speak about a lot of issues, perhaps for the few Zimbabweans who may not know who Mr. Morgen Komichi is, could you kindly give us a brief into who you are and your political journey in a few words?
Oh, thank you so much. My name is Senator Morgen Komichi, who was there when MDC was launched in 1999. And my first position in the party was the provincial chairman of Madibel North Province.
Right.
That is as far back as 2000.
Right.
And in 2006, I was elevated to the Deputy National Organizing Secretary, in which I deputized Senator Mzuri.
Right.
In 2011, I was elevated to the Deputy National Chairperson, where I was deputizing Honorable Love Momoyo.
Yes.
In 2014, again, I was re-elected as the Deputy National Chairperson of the party, the position that I'm holding up to now.
Okay.
So I am the National Chairperson of MDC T, and I've been, during President Tsvangirai, I've been his Deputy Organizing Secretary and his Deputy National Chairperson. When Nelson took over the party, I was appointed the Deputy President for a short while. And after the Supreme Court judgment, I reverted back to my position as the National Chairperson up now.
Perfect. And that leads me into my next question. Again, in a brief or a few words, may you tell the viewers your relationship with the late Dr. Tsvangirai?
President Morgen Tsvangirai was my president. But we were so close, such that we were like brothers.
Right.
Not only brothers, but we're friends. We would share very secret information between the two of us. We would advise each other on critical issues of the party. A lot of things that happened in the party during President Morgen Tsvangirai, I was very central in strategic thinking and development of those strategies, even the point of implementing some of those strategies.
Okay.
You remember when MDC launched the DRCs, the new strategy of 2006, 2007, 2008,
Yes.
which made us actually win the elections. I was appointed by him.
Okay.
To spearhead the planning, the execution, and everything else.
Okay.
You would give such kind of a job to a person that you trust very much.
Mm-hmm.
And when again we lost the election in 2013, he assigned me to come out with a new strategy to increase our vote.
Right.
Because we were constantly getting a figure of 1.2, 1.3 million.
Right.
After 2023, we then resorted to a strategy which wanted to be getting more than 2 million votes. And he assigned me to sit down, to research, to strategize. And I came out with an idea of an alliance.
Right.
Not only alliance with political parties,
Okay.
but alliance with other stakeholders such as labor, such as vendors, such as new farmers,
Okay.
such as churches. And I did that, and I executed that. And I can assure you, in 2018, we got more than 2 million votes as per our strategy. So these jobs are only given to a person who is trusted,
Right.
who is so faithful. One of my weaknesses is loyalty. I'm very loyal to my leaders.
Mm-hmm.
When Morgen Tsvangirai led MDC, I was very loyal to him. When Chamisa led MDC, I was very loyal to him. When President Monzola today leads MDC, I'm loyal to him as well. Actually, it's my weakness.
Okay.
Some people call it strength, but that's me. That's Morgen Komichi.
Right. Speaking on that particular arrangement, right? What is your view of the Supreme Court ruling that led up to the reconstruction of the MDC T?
This Supreme Court ruling was just centered on one section of our Constitution, which is Section 211, I think, which stipulates what happens when the president demises.
Right.
It's very clear. When the president demises or is incapacitated, the acting president should take over.
Okay.
Then within a period of 12 months, he should have called for an extraordinary Congress to elect a replacement of the deceased president,
Okay.
or the incapacitated president. It's as clear as that.
Okay. But
So what then happened after the demise of President Morgen
yes.
that was not done. Yes, of course, there was a dilemma on who was going to take over as an acting president. There was a dilemma, yes, because we had 3 vice presidents. Yes, of course. The Constitution is very silent on that. And therefore, the National Council had the right to then elect one of those 3 to act.
Right.
But what was supposed to have done was that whoever had been appointed by the National Council to act should have organized an extraordinary Congress. So that did not happen. So when the Mashavire team went to court, they were not arguing about any other thing. They were simply coming down to this section, to the constitutional clause, which prescribes on how exactly should you do when the president demises. So on that aspect, something went wrong, I suppose.
Okay. In my understanding, the Supreme Court ruling was based off the fact that the late Dr. Tsvangirai had unconstitutionally appointed Advocate Chamisa and Engineer Mutsuri to that point. And so the ruling seemed to have been based on that alleged illegal appointment, which then resulted in the chaos that was then seen. So in acknowledging that ruling with the background that generally the opposition has complained about the courts being unfavorable to the opposition, number one. Number two, it was Dr. Tsvangirai himself who had appointed Advocate Chamisa and Engineer Mutsuri. So you supporting that ruling, doesn't that then speak of a rebellion to Morgen Tsvangirai?
Not at all. No one is above the law. Morgen Tsvangirai was a very democratic leader. If the court had judged even during his presence, he was going to comply. Remember, Morgen Tsvangirai was taken to court prior to this issue that we're talking about. He was taken to court for appointing Nelson Chamisa and Elias Mutsuri. And the outcome of the High Court did not find him wrong. Remember, the court outcome did not find Tsvangirai wrong. So by the time Tsvangirai died, the High Court ruling had not disqualified his appointments. So by the time we went to by the time Tsvangirai passed on, no one was illegitimate. All the 3 vice presidents were legitimate according to the law, because there was no judgment at all. But I can rest assure you, if this High Court judgment had come during Morgen Tsvangirai's time, he could have honored it, because he was the man of rule of law. He believed in the rule of law. So really, we are not saying by supporting the High Court judgment or the Supreme Court judgment was simply one of our key core values in our Constitution. Our Constitution prescribes the rule of law. So if you go to court and the judgment is passed, you must respect it. If ever you got any issues with the outcome of the court, you must appeal. So that is what we should do. We do not encourage abuse of power and abuse of office. We do not encourage disregard of the rule of law, because we must abide by it. I would believe very strongly if Morgen Tsvangirai was there in 2020, he would have abided by the law, by the outcome of the court.
Okay, leading up to that ruling, there was a great congress that was held by the MDC Alliance, as it had become, and you contested for a VP's position, which you lost to Tendai BT and as well as Mrs. Kore.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me correct that. The Guel Congress was not an MDC Alliance Congress. No, it was an MDC T Congress. Prior to the Congress, Professor Osman actually joined MDC T officially. Comrade Tendabit also joined MDC T for them to qualify to be candidates. There was never an MDC Alliance Congress in our lifetime. It has never happened, and it will never happen because MDC Alliance is not a political party. MDC Alliance is an agreement of 7 political parties which they use it as a vehicle to fight for elections. So the truth be told, the 2019 Congress in Guero was an MDC T Congress. Even if you go to the material, to the communication papers that were used at that time, even to the campaign posters that were used at that time, it was an MDC T Congress. So really, that is what then was disqualified by the Supreme Court because it was an MDC T issue.
Okay, so if Tendai Biti and Washman Ngube, my understanding is they came back into the MDC fold by virtue of this alliance called the MDC Alliance, that then paved their way into reuniting a previously splintered MDC. So Professor Ngube joined the MDC T, or he simply remerged his MDC with the MDC T?
No, actually what actually happened, like in the case of Professor Ngube, he wrote a letter, an official letter, to join MDC T, and even surrendered some of the property which he had under MDC Green, such as the Bulawayo headquarters, the head office, and the Gwanda head office. So he did that. Tendai Biti also joined MDC T, but he had nothing to surrender in terms of property. He had nothing. He said he didn't have anything. But they became legitimate members of MDC T. That means Tendai Biti ceased to be the president of PDP, and Osman Ngube ceased to be the president of MDC Green. So when we then went to the Congress of the 2019 Congress, we were actually MDC T members, all of us.
Okay.
Yes.
And now, speaking of the current hot topic, the recent by-elections that just went by, your party, the MDC, as MDC T and MDC Alliance, went into this election as, at that point, the biggest opposition party, having been one of the 2 biggest since the year 2000. But the outcome of those by-elections seemed to have been very unfriendly towards you. In a nutshell, it seems the people rejected you. What's your comment on that?
Extremely unfriendly. The outcome was very unfair to us.
Right.
Very unfair to us. And we said, remember our first reaction was that my president actually called for a press conference to accept the results and even congratulated the winners. So that's what happens in any fight, in any struggle, especially as far as elections are concerned. People make their own choice. They made their own choice. Majority of the people chose between CCC and ZANU-PF. It's a democratic right. I don't have any right to be angry about that. Right. But to look at myself, to look myself in the mirror and say what has gone wrong with me. Why have they decided to abandon me? So from a fair point of view, we are going to be going back on the drawing board, research, look at ourselves, and come up with strategies and methods of reconnecting the people. This is not the first time MDC has been rejected by the people. Remember in 2005, MDC lost to ZANU-PF dismally. They lost from 57 seats to 40 seats. But they re-strategized. They went back to the drawing board. Remember, we prepared for 2008 elections with a new different face, a new strategy, which was well known as the Democratic Resistance Campaign Strategy, which we employed. And we sacrificed. People were arrested, people were beaten, people were fooling the streets. We did everything within our capacity to re-engage with the people of Zimbabwe in the international community at large. And come 2008, we beat ZANU-PF. It's on record. We beat them. And again, let me go further.
Yes.
We did very well in 2008. And we did dismally in 2013. It was extremely bad. We lost again to ZANU-PF. We again went back to the drawing board. And we sat down and we strategized. We came out with new ideas, such as the strategy of the alliance, the networks. We did a lot of homework around that. And on our drawing board, we actually planned that we were going to get more than 2 million votes. That was as far back as 2014, when we said we want to get more than 2 million votes come 2018. And then we worked strategies to make sure that 2 million votes were got. Come 2018, we got more than 2 million votes. We achieved. So where we are today, we have gone back to the drawing board.
Right. Yes. In 2005, you dropped from 57 seats to 40 seats, but you still had 40 seats. At this particular past by-election, the MDC went from being the second biggest party on paper, and in reality in the country, to having not a single council or a single parliamentary seat, but also not a single polling station gave you a better vote than any other contesting candidate. So looking at that and being realistic, do you compare that loss with previous losses? And also, do you think there's a comeback here for the MDC in frankness?
The difference is that the magnitude. The 2013 and 2014 magnitude could be said is 20. Today's magnitude could be 50. But in both circumstances, those are defeats. Those are losses. The strategy that we used in 2005 is very different from the strategy that we used in 2013, after 2013 elections. Which therefore means we are called to come out with an equivalent strategy for the magnitude that is before us. I agree with you. The magnitude of loss that we went through this by-election is huge. But we have to confront it as it is. We have to face it as the leaders and come out with a strategy that would make us rise again. We'll rise again. We'll rise again. That is very possible.
So you promise Zimbabweans that the MDC will come back?
I can assure the Zimbabweans, I can assure you, my friend, I can assure every viewer right now, I am taking the challenge.
Okay.
Yes.
So this rejection that you had in this by-election, right, as a party, do you think it's a rejection of the MDC or it's a rejection of the politics of the current leadership?
I will take the responsibility on behalf of the party. I don't want to segment the rejection. We were wholly as a team rejected. And we are going to be, as a team, rise up again.
And your former colleagues in now the biggest opposition, judging by performance at the by-elections, the CCC, in the lead up to the by-elections, had on several occasions said MDC Rangovadanga Sinamombe. In other words, you now have the crow, you've got the party headquarters, you've got the party funding, you've got the party name, but you don't not have supporters, you do not have people. And this seems to have been confirmed by the by-elections. So I'm not sure what your comment on that is.
No, it's when people are in politics, people talk, some people promote hate speeches and so forth. But this is what happens in politics. We contested, they won, we lost. And we are saying, we will congratulate them. We say congratulations to both CCs and ZANU-PF. You did a good job. We have taken responsibility of our loss. We are going back to the drawing board. We are going to re-strategize. We are going to come back. We will rise. We don't want to promote hate speeches and to promote anarchy, because at the end of the day, we need to resolve economic issues, the political issues that affect the people of Zimbabwe. The political party leaders of this country should put their heads together and make sure that we come out with an agenda to resolve the economic crisis in Zimbabwe, mainly the economic crisis in Zimbabwe. The people of Zimbabwe have suffered for a very, very, very long time. Poverty has gripped the Zimbabwean population. As we speak right now, 49% of the Zimbabwean population are living in abject poverty.
Right.
Civil servants are earning peanuts. There is now what I call modern slavery. Modern slavery is now in Zimbabwe. Civil servants are going to work and they're earning nothing. People in the vendor community are selling their goods, they are getting nothing. People who are employed in various companies are working, but they're earning nothing. People cannot make ends meet. Things are very difficult. Zimbabwe has no money. Its currency is very weak. The cost of living is very high. The cost of food and everything else, it's very, very, very high. Look at the insurances; they are unbearable. Medical insurances, funeral insurances. People cannot meet all these costs. So this is the time for the leaders to run away from the politics of anger, fights, conflict, and hate speeches, and re-engage and get engaged to the politics of focusing on the economy. It is what we should be driving towards now. The fact that now Zimbabwe, like Parliament, has got 3 political parties. This is the right time for the people to engage each other. People to make sure that we put our heads together to rescue the people of Zimbabwe, to rescue our youth who are not employed, who are loitering all over the country, to rescue our women who are loitering all over as vendors, to make sure that their lives can be improved. This is what we should be focused now. Let's run away from power struggle and focus on the economy.
And this leads up to my next question. Your party currently stands for dialogue, as it were. You have been saying, let's go into dialogue. But as you just said, you are in parliament already, and there is 2 other parties in parliament. So isn't that a primary platform of dialogue for Zimbabweans and more so for politicians?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for asking that question. And I believe many Zimbabweans have not understood our message, but we've been trying to tell them. Zimbabwean politics has caused a lot of sufferings to the people of Zimbabwe. Remember, every time when we don't dialogue, the people suffer a lot because the economy of the country goes down. The country remains isolated from the international world. Investment is very poor. The cost of living is unbearable. Potholes are all over. Hospitals and clinics have no medicine. And the victims are the people who vote us. People continue to vote us and we become members of parliament. We become councillors. For the next 5 years after elections, the members of parliament might be getting something to feed their families. Councillors will get something to feed their families as well. But the people that will have voted continue to suffer, and they suffer in abject poverty, like in this current situation. In our history, we have seen people of Zimbabwe benefiting something out of an election process, something out of politics whenever we negotiated. Remember, we had an armed struggle for more than 20 years. And we went to the longest house and negotiated. And we came back in 1980, went for elections. And we came out with a government. The government that we came out with was an inclusive government, because there was ZAPO there, there was ZANU-PF, there was Origin Front there. That was marvelous. If you check on the record, the economy of the country improved, the peace improved, the stability improved, harmony improved, and the lives of the people of Zimbabwe improved. The youth and the women were so happy. Soon after 1980, the country got involved in what I call civil war, but normally known as the Gukurahundi. The Midlands people and Matabele people were massacred. But after a protracted struggle, the 2 leaders of ZANU and ZAP, Joshua Ngome and Mugabe, agreed to dialogue, to negotiate, and they dialogued. And then they come out with the 1987 Unit Accord, in which Joshua Nkomo became the deputy president of this country. Again, if you look at the economy improved, stability improved, peace improved, people of Zimbabwe were happy, everything was happy, was good. That was out of a national dialogue which produced a government of national unity, which was very good. Come 2008, we went for an election. President Morgen beat Mugabe by 73.8%. Parliament, led. Local cabinet council, led. He was the president elected by the people. But there was a conflict. A lot of people were murdered. Homes were burnt. There was a lot of refugees. Internal and external displacements took place. But again, people negotiated, agreed, and came up to the GPA. The government of national unity was then established. Morgen became the prime minister of this country. Look, this is what we also experienced at your age.
Yes.
Things started improving. Young people were happy. Women were happy. And there was an increase in employment, increase in investments. The economy stabilized. If you look at our graph, national graph, from 1990 to today, the only time our graph rose, it was from 2009 to 2014, the economic graph growth. So it means we have at least a model of what we should follow, a model that we should do. So having given these examples, I'm going back to our leaders today. With all those examples, why can't we come out with our own model as Zimbabweans, our own model of governance as Africa? Because what we miss here is a governance system that is original, governance system that has got our own culture, a governance system that's got our own identity, the governance system that will foster on our economy. The problem that we have now is we are involved in a governance system that is very conflictual, a governance system that is after an election, we will go back to a conflict which will destroy our economy. So at the moment, President Mnangagwa, President Monzora, President Chamisa have got the responsibility today to meet as a matter of urgency to agree on the modus operandi of the national dialogue, so that the people of Zimbabwe can, at least for a moment, benefit. They must dialogue, but I don't want them to dialogue alone. They must make sure that they involved the civil society organizations, they involve the women in the youth movements, they involve the labor movement, they involve the church leaders, they involve the church leaders, they involve all political parties, they involve business leaders, so that whatever comes out of this dialogue is nationally owned. We must actually come out with our Zimbabwean blueprint that addresses issues of economy, issues of politics, issues of international engagement, issues of harmony and peace, national healing, and many other subjects themes that can be put under that. So that after the dialogue process, whatever comes out of that is owned by all Zimbabweans. This process that I'm talking about would unite all Zimbabweans from all religions, from all cultures, from all provinces, will be united by this process. We must be inclusive in nature. So, but out of this, I want Zimbabwe to develop a governance system that has got nothing to do with the Western ideology, that's got nothing to do with the Eastern ideology. A governance system that we will have to mark ourselves, to supervise ourselves, to make sure that we check our systems on our own. Currently, we are failing to run the economies of Zimbabwe and Africa simply because we are using borrowed governance system. The system that we are using in Zimbabwe is more of an American type of governance system, which we don't have its origin, we don't have the identity, we don't have its culture, we don't have who developed it, who came it, and it's being imposed on us. Remember, the Eastern world has got their own governance system, which they developed and they owned it, like the Chinese governance system. It's owned by the Chinese. No one checks them. No one marks their performance. They're not marked by the Americans. Ours is marked by the British, marked by the Americans, marked by the French and the Germans. And after every election, tunopuwa mark yokunzi magona kana kuti makonyo, because it's not ours. So Africa needs to sit down and develop their own governance system, which they will mark themselves as Africans. We must develop institutions that will monitor ourselves, monitor our governance system, monitor our performance. Let's define our own government systems. Just to buttress my argument, I've read something to do with Rwanda today.
Right.
Paul Kagame has got a special model of governance system that I would want to improve, because I could say, Paul Kagame, African leader, to develop an African governance system, which we should probably take as a reference and improve in ourselves. If you look at the basic governance system of Rwanda, it is inclusive in nature. It involves all political parties. It involves key stakeholders. You know what they did. For example, when you come to councillors, they don't have elections for councillors. They've got councillors coming from the community, and that is marvelous. I'm told each ward has got 5 councillors. This is an African governance system. Americans cannot mark you on that. The British cannot mark you on that. Chinese cannot mark you on that. This is your own system, which you must. And when I'm calling for the national dialogue, I've been calling about the national dialogue since time immemorial. If you remember, if you go back to my Facebooks, to my Twitters, I've been talking about this inclusive type of national government. My argument is that we are failing as Zimbabweans, we are failing as Africans to develop our economy because we are using a borrowed platform of governance system. We have used that. So I'm appealing to the Zimbabweans today to support my call, to support the MDC call, to engage in the national dialogue.
Right, with that, we take a short break. We are coming right back. Welcome back, Zimbabwe, to Talking Politics. Today we're speaking to MDC T, National Chairman, Senator Morgen Komichi. Before the break, Senator Komichi, you were speaking about the issue of dialogue, right? And number one, I put it to you that you already are in Parliament. You've got MPs in Parliament and senators. You are a senator. And the other 2 parties, CCC and ZANU-PF, also have. So is that not the perfect place to have this dialogue that your party speaks of, since you've got elected representatives for each of the 3 parties? So is that not enough to be able to dialogue, number one? Number two, you spoke of the era of Dr. Morgan Tsvangirai the late, when he became Prime Minister. He went into a dialogue, but if I'm to remember correctly, he had won a national election, which ZANU-PF then had not seemed to come to terms with. So they had to be. So he dialogued only on the basis of him having won the election. So in this particular instance, and also basing on the current performance of the MDC in the by-elections, what do you bring to the table? What would make particularly ZANU-PF take the MDC seriously in dialogue outside Parliament?
Thank you so much for asking that question. This is the time for Zimbabwean people to go for dialogue. And now that all political parties are now in Parliament, which was going to be the challenge if the dialogue was done with other people outside, the dialogue outcome was going to be challenged. But now everyone is in Parliament. Now he's got the authority, and now he's got this. They are now stakeholders in this whole thing. So definitely, this is the right time for Zimbabweans to start the national dialogue, which will involve ZANU-PF, MDC, CC, and even other political parties that are outside Parliament should be involved, one or the other. So it's like those parties that are in the pollard. They must actually be involved as well, because we want to unify the people of Zimbabwe. We don't want to use segregative politics. We want everyone to be involved. So we want all stakeholders to be involved. As I said before, don't make this pact an elite pact, because if you make it an elite pact, other people will not embrace it. So be inclusive in nature. So this is the right time for the party to dialogue. President Morgan Tsvangirai did not make an error, as other people don't interpret. But President Morgan Tsvangirai had several options during that time. One of his options that he had was to leave the people of Zimbabwe being massacred. The second option was the one that he chose, to save the people of Zimbabwe and get engaged in a dialogue. Realistically speaking, after ZANU-PF lost the elections, they took up arms against civilians. they took up arms against the people, MDC supporters. And Morgen Tsvangirai resisted for a while. But as a human being, as a Democrat, a person who fought for the people of Zimbabwe, he felt touched, and he decided to save the lives of the people of Zimbabwe. Remember what he said: "I am not going to the status over the dead bodies of the Zimbabweans.
Right.
I will not sacrifice the lives of the people of Zimbabwe. I would rather settle for a lower position as long as I save the lives of the people of Zimbabwe." This is the same thing which was done by Baba Joshua Ngomo as well. Remember, on record, 20,000 people of Matabele and Midlands, they were murdered. He opted to go for a junior position to save the lives of the people of Zimbabwe. Look at the similarities of the great leaders. So today, I'm looking for those great leaders today. I want to see that great leadership in President Monzora. I want to see that great leadership in President Mnangagwa. I want to see that great leadership in President Nelson Chamisa. To put the lives of the people first, then their ego of power second. So really, at the moment, if you look at the demographics in Parliament at the moment, ZANU-PF has got about 148 members of Parliament. MDC has got 68 members of Parliament. CC has got 19 members of Parliament. So that is the setup. That is the setup that is there. So they can go into the dialogue. They are all represented. So really, this is what is there. So this is how it stands. So MDC is going into the national dialogue with 68 members of Parliament. Okay. So we've got something to offer.
And still speaking on that, referring to members of Parliament, we have members of Parliament who are on the NDC Alliance ticket, but they are loyal to Triple C, and some have come up publicly, and they are well known. But at this particular juncture, and looking at what's been happening, does your party still harbor the desire to recall MPs that it sees as disobedient? Would you still have guts to recall those MPs and risk more by-elections?
No, the deployees must follow the law. Anyone who acts outside the laws will be penalized. So we would call upon every deployee in Parliament, in Council, to follow the laws of this country, to follow the constitution of their own parties. Well, we're not interested in recalling people, but if a person applies to be recalled, he or she will be recalled. But we are not interested.
So we don't want to. Still have capacity to recall it. Now, would you still risk that and recall, say, 20, 30 more legislators?
It's not a risk at all. It's like if you swallow something which is poisonous, you must flush it out. It's not for me to swallow poison, but if I swallow it, I'll flush it out. So definitely, when we're encouraging people to be united, people to simply follow the requirements of their constitutions, to obey to work with their leadership. Really, it's like in ZANU-PF as well. We are aware that there are some people who are aligned to G40 there, but they are very clever enough. They will not be selfish, they won't be stubborn, they won't take any risk, but we are aware about that.
And what's the current position on Dr. Thokozani Kupe? She splintered from the MDC T and has her own faction of the MDC T now. So what's the current position regarding her? And is there a chance of reconciliation with her, seeing that she is, by all intents and purposes, aligned with Triple C?
Actually, the unity is very fundamental. Unity is very fundamental. You do well when you are united. You perform well when you are united, when you are not fighting among each other, when you are operating peacefully, when you are sharing the common vision, and when you are together. You do very well. So that's the aspirations of any leader, to unite with other like-minded leaders. That's the aspirations. Today, as we stand now, as MDC, We are in an alliance with other political parties whom we are working with currently. So we would want to align with anyone who wants to work with us. We would actually want to see a united front when we go for elections come 2023. Going there split would give ZANU-PF the advantage over all of us. So really the question of unity is not questionable. The question of unity must be encouraged. People must come under the one umbrella, work as one team.
And a few more questions before you leave, Senator. Looking at your December Congress, you ran for president as well as Engineer Mzuri and current President Monzora and Dr. Kupe. Now, there was clear evidence of violence, particularly towards Dr. Kupe at that particular point in time. And there were a lot of complaints about there being a lot of shenanigans and unfairness in the process. And you even spoke out against that, as well as Engineer Mzuri and Dr. Kupe. So were those results legitimate, and did it even constitute a quorum to be able to be a legitimate Congress?
We are going for another Congress, which is going to be coming after the EOC. We have improved in all those aspects. We are going to be running a very democratic Congress, a free and fair Congress that's going to be coming very soon. Yes, of course, things that happened in December 2020 were issues that we all agreed that we must attend to them, must resolve them, we must not repeat them. Because of course, we're going to be running a very democratic Congress come whenever we are due. At the moment, our Congress is due in August this year. In June this year. So we should be seeing fair processes taking place.
Okay, and which office are you going to be running for? The last time you ran for president, are you still going to run for president?
I have already told my people, if I don't get that position, I'm going to resign. I'm going to be the deputy president of my party. If I don't get it, bye-bye to politics.
So if Senator Komichi does not become the MDC T president, you will be leaving...
Vice president.
Or is the vice presidency?
Vice president.
Okay. And second last question, do you have...
I'm saying that I'm being emphatic on how serious I am.
Right.
Because I've been the national chairperson since 2011. Okay. I am sick and tired of the position. Okay. I want to move up.
You want to move up now?
Yes.
Now, perfect. My second last question, in terms of confidence in the leadership of the party, you are part of the leadership, of course. Do you have confidence in Douglas Monzora as the leader of the party?
Yes, of course. The failure of Douglas Monzora is my failure as well. We are one. We sit down together. We plan together. We agree together. For an example, when we adopted the politics of rational disputation in the national dialogue, we were totally in together, very passionate about it. Very passionate about it. Unfortunately, the people did not understand it, but they will understand us later. That team, which they rejected, will become their darling in the near future, because our message is the only answer to their lives today and tomorrow. And
last question, there seems to have been a firing of people after the by-elections. We've got Costa Metu, your candidate in Epworth, as well as Fungaiji Posi. These are both in the Harare nationally owned Harare executive, and now they seem to have been fired or blacklisted or suspended from the party. I don't know the position. What's driving that, and is due process being followed in their exclusion from the party?
This is a very natural process that takes place after every earthquake. Elections, they are like earthquakes. People are shaken, buildings are shaken, relationships are shaken as well. Right. In 2005, we went for an election that I've already referred to, in which we lost. You remember what happened?
Yes.
It was like an earthquake, and the people don't accept it. It's not something that is natural with human beings. They don't accept it. So we know what happened. Washington departed with his team. Come 2013 again, another earthquake hit us unexpectedly. And, people were accusing President Tsvangirai. In all situations, President Morgen Tsvangirai was the target because he's the leader. So, Vanatenda Bitana Mangoma actually wrote letters to Tsvangirai could step down Some of them called him Gumbura and so many names because we had lost an election. So this is the same thing that we are going through today. When we lose the election, leaders are targeted. So to me, I'm not surprised by that. I'm actually, due to experience, that's why I'm so relaxed. That's why I'm saying, let's manage these things. We've seen it before. These things happen and you cannot avoid them. Whenever we lose this money, someone is going to be pointed. We are being pointed at as well. Chairman Amata Rakati, President didn't do that. That must not really shake us, shake the party. We must be able to absorb those pressures and be able to preside over them and to show maturity. Yes, of course, Comrade Metu and Comrade Fungai, they are the victims of the earthquake. But I wrote a letter to the party, to the party members to stabilize, to be organized, to be disciplined, to be orderly in nature, to respect the party constitution. Do not just arbitrarily fire people. Let the people be taken through disciplinary procedures. I did that as a chairman. I gave that instruction. I'm seeing people, the MDC people are taking heed of that order. But yes, of course, this is a cycle and die situation where things happen like this. People are divided into factions and groups, and they fight among ourselves. But we must be level-headed enough as leaders to bring everyone together, to unite the people of Zimbabwe. So for our part, and refocus them, give them direction, so that at least we move as a team.
And lastly, if you were to meet or to address Advocate Nelson Chamisa, he was your leader at some point, and you were actually very loyal to him, as you say. We saw it, the entire nation in the world saw it at the 2018 elections. Before the announcement, you actually went there and in front of the world and declared that your candidate had won. You were his chief elections officer then.
Yes.
So you seem to have been quite loyal. So if you were to address him on the backdrop of his current performance and his massive popularity, what would you say to him?
At the moment, he's my brother. At the moment, he's my brother. Because I've got another president.
Okay.
Yes. I will address him as my brother because I've got a president.
Okay.
Yes, of course. He's not my enemy at all.
Right.
He's not enemy. Nelson's not my enemy. He's just like President Mnangagwa is not my enemy, and Professor Madugu is not my enemy. In politics, we have to find each other.
And your message to Zimbabweans as we close?
Thank you so much. My request to the Zimbabweans: let us be hopeful. We have reached a point where I believe every leader now knows that dialogue is the only solution to resolve our politics, to resolve our economies. I would pray to the Lord today that President Mnangagwa, President Monzora, President Chamisa find each other, sit around the table, and initiate national dialogue that will make sure that the people of Zimbabwe would have a better life tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was MDC T National Chairperson, Senator Morgen Komichi. We thank you for watching. Catch you next episode.